Okay, let's see. Maybe if I went this way? No. Maybe that won't work. Now, maybe if I... Wait, I've already... Ugh. I swear, if I ever see that Minotaur again, he is gonna be some serious roast beef. I should have never left my spell book with him. I would have... Oh, hello! I'm sorry if I bothered you all. This is Dragon Videos going through a special maze because I made a certain bet with a Minotaur saying if I could get through here without my spell book, then I would be picking the host. And, it's for our next video. Anyway, I want to introduce you to the top 3 complicated TV plots. Have you ever come across someone who was telling you about a certain character and their long story arc, and yet you did not know what they were talking about? Better yet, have you ever come across a plot point in movies and TV shows where you couldn't understand what the heck was going on? Well, that's the topic I'm going to focus on. I'm going to go over some TV shows that are so complicated, so difficult, that they're hard to understand and that only true fans can appreciate. So hang on tight, because we are going to go over the top 3 TV shows that are super popular. So, Once Upon a Time used to be a favorite show of mine. It was quite interesting of what they were trying to do. The cast was very diverse in both personality and their situations. It was almost hard to keep track of all of them. Once Upon a Time usually focuses on a group of residents that live in a town called Storybrooke, and then they would have to protect that town from forces of evil. And there was a lot of evil that happened throughout the show. Another thing that happened in season 1 was that a lot of these characters were based off of fairy tales we used to grow up as a child. Over time, ABC was taken over by Disney, so we had a lot of Disney characters coming on the scene. So we had a lot of happy moments, but the majority of the time we've always had depressing moments of betrayal, death, and misery. And of course, the upsetting part is that it would focus on the characters, the same ones over and over again, up to the point where it almost feels like their relapse was gonna be constant throughout the series. It was sort of like kicking a dead horse at this point, and I put it at number 3 because part of the plot was easy to follow. The characters were insanely immense, and sometimes it's a pain in the butt to say who's related to who. Doctor Who was a cherished sci-fi classic throughout the ages. I believe it began sometime in the 1950s all the way up till now. And it had quite a lot of fans. You see, it focuses on an alien being known as a Time Lord who is reincarnated more than once. I only recall the present day versions and stopped when the 12th Doctor arrived. It was also known that the first time it presented a first ever female. So, this Time Lord goes through a TARDIS, a specialized time machine, and interesting characters show up, allies and enemies alike, such as the Dalek, enemies such as the Intelligence, which are nearly intangible, and of course, the Silence. But my least terrifying characters are the Weeping Angels. Oh sure, they look peaceful and harmless now, but the moment you blink or even turn your back on them for more than a second, that happens! Thanks to his time traveling and space dimension traveling, he's able to meet a lot of unique characters. Some of them get to be his companions, like I mentioned before, and of course he goes on insane adventures, some of them lighthearted and funny, but the most were very dark, and his explanations of everything can leave everyone scratching their heads. Sometimes even the explanations the Doctor gives really leaves us scratching our heads. And the poor guy, he suffers so much loss, it's like, can you leave a poor guy alone? Putting that aside, I put this in number 2 because you could still follow where the Time Lord is coming at, but at the same time you may have issues following of where the reincarnation happened and where it ended and where it incorporates in between. Now, with the other 2 contenders, they had the same story cast and they were at least having one simple plot. However, in fantasy worlds, they're not as simple as that at times. Imagine making this world with 7 kingdoms and possibly 30 to 40 dynasties. Correct me if I'm wrong, if any of you are a fan of this one. But imagine 3 different story arcs coming into this. Game of Thrones focuses on the struggle of power for the Iron Throne, hence the name. It is so diverse in the cast, starting from Daenerys Stormborn, the Mother of Dragon, the Dragon Queen, and of course, the loyal and kind-hearted Stark family. This very cast would always go through a huge amount of struggle for power, and there have been a lot of interesting concepts going through the methods of betrayal, war, and let it be known, this show was known to be a gore fest, so I only watched a few clips, but it was not exactly very comfortable and difficult to follow. There was also a lot of betrayal and love, and betrayal again, so you could sort of say a lot of character development went wishy-washy in some of this. But Game of Thrones represents the number 1 choice, mostly because it has 3 different story arcs, a large cast that rivals the other 2, and also has varying destinations and houses that can definitely leave the whole fandom in a whole lot of confusion. Woohoo! Finally free! Now I just have to do is find that Minotaur and the bets are off. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Dragon Videos on the hunt for a Minotaur.